Once again, there are news on our Wattpilot device. I welcome you dearly, ladies and gentlemen, to our today's Wattpilot webinar about the new features, about the new functionalities of the Wattpilot. My name is Michael Raunig, and together with me in the chat there is Hans Pelzer. So if you have any questions during or after the webinar, please feel free to ask us these questions in the live chat. So as you know, with our Wattpilot device, there is always coming new functionalities, new features that you can use with your customers' devices and with your own devices, of course. And therefore, today we are going to present you the new feature of the Open Charge Point Protocol 1.6, so the OCPP implementation into the Wattpilot firmware. So let's start up with the agenda, and first of all we are going to show you some news on the Wattpilot device. As you have seen in the backyard here, the Wattpilot design has changed, so there is a new design update, and of course I'm going to talk about the OCPP protocol, about the Open Charge Point protocol, and how to use it for your Wattpilot devices. Last but not least, I want to show you today the integration into Fronius Solar.web. So as you may know, the Fronius Solar Wattpilot can be now used in Fronius Solar.web, and therefore implementation with the Wattpilot is possible, and you can do the visualization and the monitoring directly on Fronius Solar.web. Okay, so now let's start up with the first part, and as you can see, our Wattpilot has now a new design. So as you see, there were some design changes on the device itself. So there is a new design. You see here a new click button. So at the front of the device, there's a new button that you can use, and the design has a little bit changed. Besides that, we have made some improvements to the housing itself. So for now, we have the IP55 cover class. So therefore, you see the IP class has a little bit raised, not much, but still, when you're using the Wattpilot at the public or semi-public place, outdoors, or wherever you want to charge your electric vehicle, I think this is a good sign that you can use it now, and we have a better protection class. Yeah, second on, we have heard about the feedbacks of the customers, and of course there was a feedback about the Wi-Fi range. So therefore, with the new designed Wattpilots, we have an improved Wi-Fi range, so the Wi-Fi gets even better, and therefore, for example, when you have a wall between the Wattpilot and the Wi-Fi router, you now will have a better improved Wi-Fi range. Yeah, second up, then of course, we have additional types added. And as you may know, when you have installed the Wattpilot Home in the recent times, you may notice that there was only 11 kilowatt variant, so only the 16 amp variant. So for now, we have added and completed the portfolio, so to say, with a new variant, the Wattpilot Home 22J. So in this case, you can now freely and easily install a Wattpilot Home with 11 kilowatts or even a Wattpilot Home with 22 kilowatts. So now you have the free of choice, let's say it like that. And in the slide below, you can see the different variants that there are now. So when it comes to Wattpilot Go, of course, as we had it before, we have the Wattpilot Go 11 and 22 kilowatt variant. And now with the Wattpilot Home, we have the 11 kilowatt as it was, and now new the Wattpilot Home 22 kilowatt variant. Yeah, also good news for the Australian market. We now have an extra version for the Australian market, and therefore we are implementing the Wattpilot Go 22J Australian market version. So this is the short for AUS, and this stands for the Australian version. And now, if you are in Australia, you can easily use the Wattpilot. It has an extra socket for the Australian market on it, and therefore you are free to charge wherever you are, even if it is in Australia. Okay, then additional accessory comes up. Of course, now we have a 2.5 meters as well as a 7.5 meter type 2 cable in stock. So whenever you want to order a Fronius type 2 cable over the wholesaler, you can do it, and now you have free of choice with a 2.5 or 7.5 meter cable. Yeah, and last but not least, of course, we have also taken into feedback from our customers that they want to have a cable clamp, a cable holder for their Wattpilot whenever you install the device at the garage, for example, that you can place the cable below it. And therefore, we have now on stock the new cable holder. As you can see in the picture on the right hand side, you can now wind the cable around the holder and then plug the type 2 cable into the place, and therefore make sure that the cable is always aligned correctly and that it is nicely stored directly under the Wattpilot device. So if you can use that, of course, this is a very good device to just sort your Type 2 cable and to have a nice order of the Type 2 cable that you connect to the Wattpilot. And especially when you want to install a Wattpilot home, of course, this comes into place because then you will let the Type 2 cable on the device and therefore you can use it with this cable holder. Yeah, let's come now to the Wattpilot OCPP 1.6, and therefore I want to show you what we have changed here. Besides, with the new design changes, there are no changes for the existing Wattpilot. So when you have an existing Wattpilot, all the functionalities, all the updates, they will come to your device, of course. So therefore, we promise to you that you are future-proof with our products. So therefore, when you have an existing Wattpilot, all the new functionalities, all the software updates, they are available as well. So there is no need to worry. You can always have the new software features, the new functionalities, and everything that is about to come along the way. You can use it with your existing Wattpilot, of course. So let's talk a little bit about the OCPP 1.6. So first of all, what is OCPP? OCPP is now a standard way of communication between the charging infrastructure, so to say the charging station, the electric vehicle, and a back-end management system. So whenever you want to control your charging infrastructure from afar over the internet, over a backend, over a management system, then the charging infrastructure needs to have OCPP to communicate on the standardized way between the electric vehicle, the charging infrastructure, and the backend system, where you want to control one or multiple charging boxes to control your charging process. This can be used either for accounting, or it can be used also for energy management. So let me take some example here, as you can see in the slide below. Let's assume you have now a variant Go or Home variant of the Wattpilot, and this is now included with OCPP, with the Open Charge Point protocol. And then we have, of course, a user. So the user, whoever it is, for example, wants to charge at this charging infrastructure. Therefore, he has an RFID card to authenticate himself and to account in the backend system. Yeah, then what will the Wattpilot do? He will communicate as the OCPP works with the backend service. So therefore, we have two persons, so to say, two instances. We have, first of all, the charge point operator, the CPO, that operates the infrastructure at the local site. Yeah, and then we have a business-to-business connection via a backend using the OCPP, and therefore we have an e-mobility service provider. And this e-mobility service provider can be done by different companies. For example, has to be one e-mobility service provider that does the accounting to the end customer. So whenever you are, for example, a local instance and you want to charge your charging process to the end customer, let's say a hotel or a restaurant, then the charging infrastructure needs to implement OCPP to charge and build the charging process to the backend provider. And then the end customer, the vehicle user, has an own contract with the electromobility service provider, with the EMSP, to use this charging infrastructure. And at the end of the day, the EMSP will account this charging process and then will send the invoice to the vehicle user, to the end customer, and then also will, of course, send money to the charge point operator for taking the charging process. So as you can see here, there are multiple uses, of course, that comes into play for accounting. And on the other hand side, what we are using at Fronius especially is, of course, the energy management, so the load balancing functionality. And therefore, with OCPP, you can also use our Fronius Emil. And as you see, this is a key component of using Fronius Emil as a backend, because with Fronius Emil, you can do load management and, of course, especially energy management with PD surplus energy, with accounting multiple charging infrastructure all over the world. So as you may know, with Fronius Emil, this is a real cloud solution. And with that, it is possible to control your charging infrastructure all over the world at multiple sites. So this, of course, aims for commercial users when you have a bigger car park, for example. And when you are a company and you want to maintain all these charging stations at once, when you want to do the accounting for it, or for example, when you want to do the authentication on the different charging sites, then you can use Fronius email, and especially, of course, also for the load balancing functionality. When you want to avoid that there is an overload at the feeding point, then you can use Fronius email to dynamically control the charges of the different charging solutions. And as you see, this is a key component for us. So therefore, now with implementing OCPP with the Wattpilot, it is also possible to use the Wattpilot as a mobile charging station with our Fronius email. So there comes one thing into your mind when thinking about the Wattpilot. The positive side is now when you have, for example, a commercial car park and you want to charge your electric vehicle also at the home site of the worker, of the employee. And therefore, he can just take his mobile Wattpilot with him in the car, connect it to his household connection at home. And with Fronius email, you can account this charging process even when the employee is at home. And therefore, the company can compensate the charging process from afar because the Fronius Wattpilot is integrated in Fronius email. The accounting works over the internet, and as long as the Wattpilot has the internet connection, you can account the charging process for the employee at his home site, although he's charging on company's cost. So I think this is a very big feature, especially for car parks, especially, of course, for commercial charging. You can use very easily the Fronius Wattpilot as a mobile charging station and account it over Fronius email to your company. Yeah, besides that, there are other reasons for implementing OCPP. So for example, to visualize for government grants. So whenever you want to achieve a government grant, like we have it, for example, in Austria, can be different in other countries. The OCPP is a ground requirement for getting the government grant. So whenever you want to install a commercial solution in Austria, for example, you have to have OCPP in the charging solution to qualify for the government grant. So therefore, when you're installing in Austria right now or in another country where OCPP is a requirement, you can now also install the Wattpilot and qualify for the government grant. So this is a very big and positive news, of course, for the Wattpilot. Yeah, second on, why is OCPP so important? Of course, first of all, about the compatibility with Fronius email, this is very clear. And also, if you want to mix and match the Wattpilot with different other third-party charging stations, this is now not longer a problem, since you can communicate over OCPP and therefore make sure that the third-party station and the Wattpilot are communicating to each other, for example, in the email cloud, in the backend solution. Therefore, you can make sure that the Wattpilot and the other charging solutions are compatible with each other, and therefore to have a standardized communication between the charging station and the electric vehicle, as well as the central management system. Yeah, so much about OCPP. I hope this feature will be useful for you. Maybe not now, maybe in the future, maybe you can use it already. It depends on your installation site and of course on the customer, but I hope you can use this feature. Yeah, second up, I want to show you for the second part the integration into Fronius Solar.web. Whenever you want to install a new Wattpilot into an existing PV system with Fronius, of course you want to do the visualization and the monitoring in Fronius Solar.web. And this is of course now possible with the Fronius Wattpilot. So whenever it comes to visualization and monitoring, you can just easily add the Fronius Wattpilot manually to a PV system. So therefore, in Fronius Solar.web, you can manually add and delete a new Wattpilot to the device. And whenever you add a new device, all the data, for example, charging time, of course, Wi-Fi range, other detailed values are then possible to view in Fronius Solar.web. Yeah, then also for the energy balance, multiple Wattpilots are presented in the energy balance. And I think this is a very key feature also for the end customer when he's using multiple Wattpilots in his system. Then you can use the energy balance as well as the bubble chart to visualize the Wattpilot and to make sure that the end customer has a very good overview over the different charging stations and to make sure which Wattpilot is charging at which rate and what power is going through the device. Yeah, furthermore, of course, you will also get the history chart, and therefore you get detailed values that can be visualized separately. As you can see now here in the energy balance, I think this is a very nice chart. For the daily view, you can easily see now how much energy is being brought to the electric vehicle, what is being charged into the car, and therefore you can now see here the violet part. This is the power, this is the energy going into the Wattpilot, and therefore the end customer has a very nice way of visualization, his dynamically controlled charging solution, and therefore you can see how precise the Wattpilot is charging with the PV surplus energy. As you can see here, it's more or less a perfect match to the PV curve. As you can see here, this is the PV curve, and down below the violet area is the energy that is going into the electric vehicle. So I think for you as an installer, this is a very nice way of demonstrating how the Wattpilot works, how the function of PV surplus charging works, and of course for the end customer, this is a very nice way to see how he's using his own energy. Furthermore, you can also do this, of course, on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis, and in total. So therefore, whenever the end customer wants to know how much energy, for example, his car used during the last year, during the last month, he can very easily show that here directly in the monthly and yearly sheet, and therefore have a very good visualization about the consumption of his electric vehicle. Yeah, furthermore, for you as an installer, this is especially interesting. This is the analysis functionality. And with the analysis functionality, as you are used to from the Fronius inverters, you can do the same now with the Fronius Wattpilot. So when it comes to troubleshooting, for example, or when you want to see the values in detail, you can go to the analysis chart and watch the different channels of the Wattpilot. So you can do, for example, the voltage per phase, the current per phase. You can see the power factor coming from the device. You can see the device performance, as well as the Wi-Fi signal strength. This is very important when it comes to troubleshooting. When, for example, a customer calls you and says he has no connection to his Wattpilot, you can easily go from afar with Fronius Solar.web and watch the Wi-Fi signal strength of the device to make sure that there are no interruptions in the signal. So therefore, with these values, it is very easy to do troubleshooting from afar, and this should give you a possibility to troubleshoot errors and communication errors before coming to the site of the customer. So in the best case, you can find the error, what's wrong with the system, before going on troubleshooting to the customer side. Yeah, there are some important hints for integration of the Wattpilot in Solar.web. First of all, before adding the Wattpilot to Solar.web, all the devices, so inverter and Wattpilot, they must be online and up to date. So therefore, please make sure to update the Wattpilot to firmware 36 at least, and Gen 24 and Untitled firmware at least to 1.12. So whenever you come to a new system, for example, or to an older system and you want to add something, please make sure to install the Wattpilot and inverter updates at first, and then manually add the Wattpilot to the system. Yeah, then of course, one Wattpilot can be only coupled to one PV system. So this comes into place when, for example, a customer has two sites, one home site and one holiday site, for example, and he wants to add one Wattpilot to two PV systems. This is not possible at once, but of course you can delete the Wattpilot from one system and add it to another one. So please keep this in mind when the customer is using multiple sites, multiple PV sites to charge his Wattpilot. The Wattpilot can be only added to one PV system. Yeah, and last but not least, of course, the Wattpilot has no storage, no data storage in it. So whenever there is no online connection, when there is no online data connection, then the data of the Wattpilot will not be stored and frequently uploaded to Solar.web. So therefore, please make sure that you always have a good signal strength, a good Wi-Fi signal on the Wattpilot. And on the other hand side, when you are charging away from home, let's say you take the Wattpilot with you and charge at the remote site, then of course the data is not implemented into the Solar.web system, because of course this would not make sense, because since you are taking the power from another site, this has nothing to do with your PV system at home. Yeah, I hope this would give you a little overview about the newest features, about the newest updates of the Wattpilot. And of course, if you haven't already, please check out our how-to videos on the Wattpilot, how to use the Wattpilot. And now we have implemented lots and lots of different how-to videos on the different and each and every function of the Wattpilot. So whenever you have a problem with the Wattpilot or want to get to a new feature, a new functionality, please check out our YouTube channel, and there you will find all the how-to videos about the Wattpilot and how to use and commission each and different functionalities. So this is very helpful, especially when you're out there at the customer side installing a Wattpilot and you question yourself, how do I want to use, for example, the car settings, or how do I add a PV inverter to the system? Then you can easily watch a how-to video and therefore get further information about how to install these solutions. Yeah, furthermore, I want to also show you our new application guide. It is called Energy Management with the Fronius Wattpilot. And in that you will find, for example, different informations about the prioritization of loads. So whenever you're using an OnPilot, a battery storage, a PV battery storage, and the Wattpilot within a system, then you want to, of course, do the prioritization of these loads. And you will find a detailed analysis, a detailed information in this application guide. You can find it on our homepage. So therefore, just Google in the homepage the energy management with the Fronius Wattpilot, and there we will find a very detailed analysis on how to commission and how to do the thing. Yeah, furthermore, I want to show you also our new webinars and trainings. If you're interested in more mobility solution and more heat, for example, and energy management, please visit one of our trainings. We have live trainings here at WELS at our home site, and of course also online. We have online trainings for you available. So whenever you want to know more about the solutions, please visit one of our trainings. Yeah, last but not least, it is to say until the end of the year, what comes up? Until the end of the year, we will also have our new load balancing functionality. So this is, of course, a long-awaited functionality that is suitable for all people using 2 or 3 Wattpilots at home. So whenever you're using multiple Wattpilots devices at home, of course, first of all, you want to make sure that the feeding point is not overloaded, so that you don't have overcurrent at the feeding point. And of course, that the Wattpilot can balance themselves to make sure that you have a good load balancing, a good energy management at home. And this feature will come until the end of the year. So please stay tuned, check out our new webinars, check out our new newsletters for the information about the load balancing, because this will be a new feature, a new functionality, and it is only one software update. So whenever you have an existing device, whenever you have a new designed device, you are always future-proofed. You will always get the new functionalities on your Wattpilot device by only doing a software update. So last but not least, I want to go into your questions that we received during the webinar. And maybe Hans, can you bring up some of the questions that arise during the webinar? Maybe we can answer something right away.
Yes, Michael, maybe one important question to be answered. This is the exchange of the old Wattpilot to a new one. Basically, there is, as Michael explained, there's no need to exchange the old one to a new one, because you have all the same features with both devices. So maybe there is a customer who would like to have OCPP. It just needs to have the new software update on this Wattpilot on the old one, and he gets all the features which are necessary as well. Solar.web integration can all be done with the old one as well with the new one. And if it's just about Wi-Fi signal strength, we also recommend to use repeaters, not to exchange the Wattpilot because of a stronger Wi-Fi signal. So make sure that you keep the Wattpilot as you have, updated with the latest software, and you have all the features what you need for as Michael explained. I think this was the most important. All the rest we will answer later on, Michael, and I give back to you. My word back to you.
Perfect, thank you, Hans. And of course, this is a very important point. Whenever you have a Wattpilot, the existing one, a new one, you are always future-proof. So with that, we don't let you alone. When you have one existing Wattpilot device, this doesn't change anything with the new device, with the new design. So therefore, you're always future-proof, and all you need to do is to do a software update. Okay, guys, then I hope this was informative for you. I hope you could get some news out of it. And of course, please stay tuned for our new webinars, for our new trainings that we have until the end of the year. So as you will see, there come some news, some new features will still coming for the Wattpilot this year. And of course, we have lot of works to do for next year. So there will be also new functionalities, new features for the Wattpilot next year. And I think it's getting more and more interesting about the e-mobility side. So therefore, I say thank you for your participation today. Thank you for tuning in. And of course, I will see you guys next time here at the Fronius webinar. Stay healthy and keep charging. Bye-bye. Until the next time.